Now America discovered the Alps. Zurs, Austria, slopes beyond our wildest dreams. To a trail-bound New Englander, this was sheer nirvana. We had a fellow with us who was a throwback to the Neanderthal days of skiing, doing a turn very popular in the early 1920s. Telemark, they called it. The ice bar we were introduced to with all its wondrous joys and the delights of European food. But don't let anybody introduce you without warning to the Swiss version of Mexican chili. He had everything but smoke coming out his ears. They took us up to the top of the Jungfrau and said, you'll have an 18-mile run down the Aletsch Glacier. And we did. The fun is skiing down through a farmer's backyard, hoping the gate will be open. Occasionally you'll run out of snow, as I did, but it doesn't matter if you have the right wax. Evidently, Bob did not. The international side of competitive skiing continued on at St. Moritz. A 29-year-old housewife from Tacoma, Washington, stood in the slalom gate of the Olympics. Gretchen Fraser defeated the best the entire ski world had to offer that afternoon, and America took a giant stride forward as she won the first gold medal. Then in 1952 at Oslo, Stein Erikson of Norway came on down his home course. And if you look closely, you'll see the first signs of reverse shoulder creeping into competitive skiing. Stein won the opening round. There are 2 runs in a slalom. In the next, the Austrian Othmar Schneider was able to beat him by a tiny margin. Then a young 19-year-old girl from Rutland, Vermont, named Andrea Mead-Lawrence, took off. Her teeth were clenched, a hallmark that she was to carry throughout her competitive career. For Andy was battling odds here. She had to do this in a time of 1 minute and 3 seconds if she was going to win. And it didn't look as if she could. Andy had won a medal earlier. Now, if she took this, she'd be the first American, the first skier from any nation to win 2 golds in the same Olympics. Clock ticked and stopped at 1:03. Andy did it, and America's prestige in skiing zoomed on. In 1956 at Cortina, Italy, pomp and pageantry in the town, and on the mountain, a young American skier from Colorado, Wallace Werner, came on down here. His first international competition, he placed 11th, despite 2 falls. Well, this course was like a ribbon of white Italian marble, and they were falling right and left in the wicked washboard bumps at the bottom. Then the crowd shouted, Toni Seiler is coming, and the incredible Austrian from Kitzbühel, who had won 2 gold medals already, was now trying for 3rd as he went wide open through the bumps at the bottom. He stood and made it and beat his nearest rival to the bottom by a full 3.5 seconds. Toni on the right in his hour of glory. Then we saw him a few days later in his hometown running through a slalom and learned why Toni is the world's only triple gold medal winner skiing. In every sport, there's always one years ahead of their time. Toni was he. Over into Poland, Zakopane, behind the Iron Curtain, with signs in Russian, Polish, and other languages. The sports car set out on the street in sleighs, and a big crowd, 120,000 people waiting to see the jump. Everything's up to date in Zakopane. They have chairlifts for the jumpers. And the first fella to come off here has that new streamlined style developed by the Finns in the early 1950s. "92.5 meters. The next, Heinrich Illy of East Germany made the mistake of lowering his right ski slightly. The wind caught it at 60 miles an hour and threw him violently down. But this was nothing compared to what happened to the next jumper from Montreal, Art Gravel, who lowered both ski tips inadvertently. And now what? He was badly hurt, but has since made a complete recovery. The crowd was waiting for Helmut Recknagel, a mechanic from East Germany, who had won the gold medal at Squaw Valley. He leans forward, using the palms of his hands as ailerons, and soars to a new hill record. 102 meters. Spread all over the globe, no continent seemed to be immune. Even Africa sprouted ski lifts, and in Marrakech in French Morocco, just a little ways from the equator, we walked down through their hot streets to the end of town, to the nearest you-drive-it camel agency. Picked out a couple of sporty two-seaters with the top down and climbed aboard. And when you put the key in the ignition on these models, they really get up and go. Ski racks on these are optional. Annie leaned forward and said, "You see those hills with that white stuff on them? Well, full speed ahead, Mohammed, and don't spare the camels." And we took off at 3 miles an hour, which is overdrive for a camel. Soon we came into the amazing snow bowl of the dark continent, Oukaimeden, where the Atlas Mountains rise 13,000 feet into a near equatorial sky, and a ski lift runs from the lower left to the upper right of the slope. It's informal. You supply most of the equipment, such as your poles, which you place between your legs, hang on to a rope wrapped around the handles, with the lead weight swinging happily near you. Off you go. At the top, you do the whole process over again in reverse, as my wife discovered. Very fast. The French Foreign Legion was here. The year was 1954. He made a few mistakes, got a dirty look from the coach, King Tut, and our guide, a Swiss, had problems. "Oh," he wailed, "I've lost the ski poles." But a little man in white robes suddenly materialized, and Bernard had them back again. Merci bien, formidable. From Bernard, we learned that skiing was now growing ever more streamlined. And the skiing in Africa is great if you just stay on the fairway and don't wander into the rough on either side of the canyons here. Well, there are no African lift lines. And you ski from 8 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon, when it gets to be 85 degrees in the shade, and everybody takes a siesta for the rest of the day. There are a few minor hazards: cactus-covered rocks around which you do a slalom, canyons which may or may not have an exit, but you play a game of African roulette going down them and hope for the best. We hopped on our camels and headed home.